It's a Tuesday morning at the grocery store, and you're standing in the dairy aisle in front of the yogurt section. Plain Greek yogurt, $5 and change for a single container. The little fruit on the bottom cups, $1.50 a piece, mostly sugar and a couple tablespoons of actual yogurt underneath. A family that eats yogurt regularly is spending $40 to $60 a month on it. $500 or $600 a year on a fermented dairy product that costs the company that makes it pennies to produce. Now picture a different counter, a quart mason jar sitting out, set up the night before, ready for breakfast. Made from 1 quart of milk and 2 spoonfuls of yogurt saved from last week's batch. Total cost about $1.50 a quart. Total ingredients, 2. Total hands-on work, maybe 15 minutes, and then 6 hours of doing absolutely nothing while it takes care of itself. I'm Grace, and today we are making yogurt. 2 simple ingredients with plenty days of happiness. Once you learn it, you will never buy it again. Yogurt is one of the oldest foods there is, older than bread, older than cheese, older than writing itself. Every farming people in the world worked out their own way of making it, and every one of them landed on more or less the same thing. 2 ingredients, a little warmth, and patience. That's the whole of it, and it hasn't needed improving in thousands of years. I learned to make yogurt the way I learned most everything in the kitchen, standing beside my mother, watching her hands before I ever touched the jar myself. Store-bought yogurt has not once come through her door in all the years I've known her kitchen, and by the end of this video, it won't need to come through yours either. Before we get to the method, I want you to understand what's actually happening inside that jar, because knowing the why makes every step make sense instead of feeling like a rule you're just following blind. Yogurt is fermented milk. You introduce 2 particular kinds of bacteria into warm milk and give them time to multiply. Those 2 working together are what turn milk into yogurt, nothing more mysterious than that. Milk carries a natural sugar in it called lactose, and these bacteria feed on that sugar and turn it into lactic acid as they multiply. The more they multiply, the more acidic the milk becomes, and once it grows acidic enough, the proteins in the milk change shape entirely. What was a liquid becomes a soft, set gel. That gel is yogurt. The 2 bacteria actually help each other along, one of them growing fast and creating the acidity the other one needs, the second one in turn producing something the first one needs to keep multiplying. They're stronger working together than either would be alone, and that's exactly why a spoonful of good yogurt makes such a reliable starter. Every spoonful already carries millions of both, paired up and ready to get to work the moment they land in warm milk. You're not buying bacteria from anybody. You're only ever borrowing a spoonful of a living thing that's already doing what it's always done. Now, the 2 ingredients themselves. First, milk, about a quart for a starter batch. Any milk will work. Whole milk gives you the richest, creamiest result, and it's what I reach for myself. 2% gives you something a bit thinner, but still perfectly good. Skim milk works too, though it won't have much body to it. If you can get raw milk from a trusted source, it makes the most flavorful yogurt of all. One thing worth knowing plainly, the ultra-pasteurized milk that comes in shelf-stable boxes tends to make a thinner yogurt, since that higher heat processing changes the proteins some. Standard pasteurized milk from any grocery store works just fine. Second, your starter, 2 tablespoons of plain yogurt with live active cultures on the label. This is the part that trips folks up the most, and it needn't. Check the ingredient list for the 2 bacterial names, Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus, and check that it says live active cultures somewhere on the container. Most plain yogurts at any store qualify. Don't reach for anything flavored or sweetened since the sugar and fruit interfere with the fermentation. And here's the honest truth of it. You only ever buy that starter once. Every batch you make carries the same living cultures forward, so you save 2 spoonfuls from your finished batch to start the next one, and the next, and the next, on for as long as you remember to do it. $3 of starter yogurt bought a single time can feed your family yogurt for the rest of your life. That's the whole ingredient list. Milk and starter. No sweeteners, no thickeners, no jam at the bottom, no plastic cup, no $5 price tag. Now let's walk through the method, step by step, exactly how it's done. Step 1, heat the milk slowly, almost to a boil. Pour your quart of milk into a heavy-bottomed pot over medium heat. A heavy bottom matters here, since a thin pot will scorch milk quickly. Stir it now and again with a wooden spoon and watch for small bubbles forming right at the edges where the milk meets the pot. Not a full rolling boil, just the very beginning of one. That's about 180 degrees if you're using a thermometer, or you can go by sight watching for steam and those first small edge bubbles. This step matters for 2 reasons. It clears out any other bacteria in the milk that might compete with your cultures, and it changes the milk proteins in a way that gives the finished yogurt a thicker, smoother body. As soon as you see those bubbles and steady steam, pull the pot off the heat. Step 2, cool the milk down to lukewarm, and don't rush this part, because it's the one most folks hurry through, and it's the most important step of all. You want the milk down to about 110 degrees, warm but not hot to the touch. The bacteria thrive right there. Any hotter than about 120 and you'll kill them outright, and your yogurt simply won't set. Too cool and they'll struggle to multiply, giving you a thin, off-tasting result. The old test, a few drops on the inside of your wrist. If it feels like a warm bath, comfortable, and not the least bit hot, it's ready. Cooling from 180 down to 110 takes 30 to 45 minutes sitting out, or you can speed it along by setting the pot in a sink of cool water. Stir now and then as it cools so the temperature evens out. A thin skin may form on top as it cools. That's just milk, fat separating, and it's nothing to worry over. Skim it off if you like a cleaner yogurt, or stir it back in for something a bit richer. Step 3, add your starter. Once the milk is lukewarm, spoon your 2 tablespoons of starter yogurt into a small bowl, stir in about half a cup of the warm milk until it's fully dissolved, and then pour that mixture back into the main pot and stir it through gently. Mixing it small first, then folding it into the larger batch, spreads those bacteria evenly through the whole quart instead of leaving clumps that ferment unevenly. Step 4, transfer it to a clean glass jar. A quart mason jar with a tight lid works perfectly, or any clean glass or ceramic container. Steer clear of metal for this, since reactive metals can interfere with the culture. Make sure whatever you use is very clean, washed well in hot soapy water and rinsed thoroughly, since any leftover residue can invite in bacteria that compete with your yogurt cultures. Step 5, keep it warm for 6 to 8 hours. This is the incubation, where the real work happens, and it needs to sit right around 108 to 112 degrees the whole while. The easiest way in a modern kitchen, set the jar in your oven with the door shut and just the oven light on, nothing else. The light alone gives off just enough warmth to hold that range perfectly. Do not turn the oven itself on, only the light. Other methods that work fine too, wrapping the jar in towels inside an insulated cooler alongside a jar of hot water, replaced every couple hours, or setting the jar on a heating pad on its lowest setting, wrapped in a towel. In summer, a sunny windowsill does the job on its own. Step 6, check it after 6 hours and decide when to stop. Tilt the jar gently. If it moves as one soft set mass, it's ready. If it's still liquid, give it another hour or 2. The timing shapes the flavor. 6 hours gives you a mild, slightly sweet yogurt. 8 hours gives you something tangier, the kind many folks prefer for cooking. 12 hours or more gives you a quite tart, thick Greek-style result. I usually land around 7 hours myself, mild enough to eat plain with a little honey, tangy enough to cook with. Step 7. Refrigerate right away to stop the fermentation. Once it's set to your liking, move it straight to the cold box. The cold halts the bacteria and locks the flavor where you want it. Leave it out too long, past 8 hours, and it'll keep turning more tart, and eventually the texture will start to break with whey separating out. Properly chilled, it keeps about 2 weeks, good and thick the first week, and starting to weep a little whey the second, which you just stir back in. Step 8. And do not skip this one. Save 2 tablespoons for your next batch. Before anybody eats a bite, scoop out 2 tablespoons into a small, clean jar and tuck it in the back of the fridge. That's tomorrow's starter, and as long as you keep doing this one small thing, you genuinely never need to buy yogurt again. That's the entire method. 2 ingredients, 6 to 8 hours, most of it spent waiting, and it goes on forever as long as you remember that last step. Before you count what else this one method gives you, strain your homemade yogurt through cheesecloth for a couple hours and you've got Greek yogurt, the kind that sells for twice the price at the store, for the same cost as what you already made. Strain it overnight and you've got a soft yogurt cheese, no different in cost, spreadable like cream cheese. Stir in fresh fruit and honey at the table, and you've made your own fruit on the bottom yogurt for pennies against $1.50 a cup at the store. Here's what I want you to do this week. Go to the store once, buy a half gallon of regular milk, whichever fat content you like, and 1 small plain yogurt with live active cultures on the label. Any brand at all. Total cost about $5 or $6, and it's the last time you'll need to buy either one. Set aside an afternoon this weekend. Follow the steps, heat the milk, cool it down, stir in the starter, set it to warm, and by the next morning, you'll have your first jar ready for breakfast. Save your 2 tablespoons before anybody digs in, and from that morning on, you're done buying yogurt for good. Tell me down in the comments, has anyone in your family ever kept up their own yogurt or buttermilk, made the old way, with their own timing and their own little trick for keeping it warm? Those small inherited methods are exactly the kind of thing that gets lost when nobody passes them on, and I'd love to hear how your people did it. Until then, heat the milk, cool it to lukewarm, stir in the starter, keep it warm 6 hours, refrigerate, and remember to save 2 spoonfuls for next time. That's the whole method in one sentence, and it's fed families at this table for longer than anyone can rightly count.